So here we have yet another camera. If you've seen any of the other videos, the last couple I've done are rangefinders, just taking a little bit of a break from the those big chunky rangefinders just to show this. This is one of my favourites, I think. This is the Olympus Pen EE-3. Now, I think all the pens, apparently the Olympus Pen series is because it was called pen because it was as pocketable as a pen. Not sure if that's actually true or whether that was just something they marketed afterwards with the name, because it does seem a bit of an odd way to name a camera, but anyway, not sure if that's true or not. So I really like this. It is small, it's really small. There's a reason for that, which I've alluded to I think in another video, but the easiest way to show the size comparison, I guess, is if I put it next to a Trip 35, which in itself is a small camera, a compact camera, then you begin to get an idea that it's nice and small. I mean, obviously, you know, you're going to get smaller digital cameras these days. Not that this is digital, obviously, but I mean, even compared to the EPL3, another pen, of course. Obviously, Olympus resurrected the pen name for their compact system cameras, and it even says somewhere Olympus Pen Lite in this case. So there we go. In fact, I've just grabbed another one. Yeah, I have it yet, another one, and I'm obviously filming on one as well. It does say Olympus Pen since 1959. EP1. So that gives you an idea. This was not by no means the first, because it gives you an idea it's an EE3 for a start, and the EEs weren't even the first ones. So they did Pen and Pen S, Pen D, there's several of those, I think, D2, D3, and then the EE. And the EE is basically the electronic eye, which, if you're familiar with some of the other videos, is a selenium cell. So basically, light hits that, creates a voltage, and that basically moves the needle a set amount, and by that it knows how to expose. So this is a automatic camera. There's not really any manual settings that you're supposed to use. In that regard, it's a bit like the Trip 35. It's supposed to be used in automatic mode, that's the whole point. The only real setting there is the film speed, which you just set, so that goes from, let's have a look on this particular one, 25 up to 400, so not a massive range or not a massively high setting. Great lens from Olympus as usual, 28mm f3.5. The reason that is a interesting lens at 28mm is that the one thing I haven't mentioned yet, the reason this camera is so small for its age, and this was supposedly around 1973 to 1983. However, the only real information you can find on Wikipedia for this is that it's basically the same as the EE2. Which it even does say exactly the same, which is odd, because why would they have made the same camera with a different model number? Not sure, but anyway, apparently that's what they reckon. And the EE2 was from 68 to 77, so it's a 60s kind of design. I mean, the original EE was in 61, and it's pretty similar, I think. The big thing about this, I'm just showing under there are some flash settings for manually changing the aperture, so you can use it in a kind of aperture priority mode, but I think that's with a fixed shutter speed. There's probably something like 1/30th of a second, but anyway, don't quote me on that. The reason this is so small is because it's a half frame camera. So if you look at the wheel on here, the indication for the number of shots we've taken, it's at the beginning at the moment. I do have a film in here, but I haven't taken any yet, and it goes up to 72. Because that's 2 lots of 36. So basically it takes a half a 35mm frame shot, which is an interesting concept. And if you look through the viewfinder, which I always do in these videos and never works, but if the camera held in its standard orientation, you're getting a portrait shot because you've got half a 35mm frame. So to get a landscape shot, you need to turn the camera that way, and for a portrait, you hold it that way, which is interesting in itself. And what it does lend itself to is people doing kind of little stories or panoramas with it. It just kind of lends itself to that kind of thing. So you might just do the shots in twos and take two different perspectives of the same thing. So it's great for landscape, for architecture and stuff like that. So it's a really great little thing. It has the same red flag system as the trips. If I do that, you can see a little red flag popping up to say no thank you, not enough light, because the lens cap's on obviously in this case. So great little camera, I really like it. This one is in beautiful condition, still got the little sticker on it, which is always a good sign. Not a mark on it really, still fires as far as I can see perfectly. I've had a roll through this, had the results back, all absolutely fine. Looked one of my favourite pictures that I've taken on film so far was from this camera, so absolutely love it. Going to see if I can get some of the others, even though there isn't a great deal of difference between them. I've got one other on its way, but they do tend to sell for obviously not great deal of money, but you know, you don't really pay a lot for these things obviously, so I kind of try and restrict myself to kind of 10 quid or under, maybe plus a few quid for postage. And if I look back, this one cost me £11 plus £4 postage, so I paid 15 quid, which is possibly a little bit rich for my tastes now, but probably would pay it for one of the others if I'm honest, because I like them so much. Yeah, there you go, the Olympus Trip. All I was going to say is, just briefly, I mentioned the 28mm lens. That is quite a wide angle lens for a 35mm camera, but of course it isn't a 35mm camera. So it's a bit like an SLR or a digital camera, sorry. Just digital cameras in general, I should say, because you've got a crop factor. Now I've seen that said to be kind of 1.5, and I thought it would be half. I thought you'd have to double the. I thought you'd effectively have twice the focal length, but I don't know. Don't quite understand how that is the case, but perhaps it is. So there you go. The obviously creates an interesting conversation at the processing, because the person in Asda has not normally used to developing that, and the lady actually gave up on cutting the negatives in half and just gave me the roll looped up in a film canister. So, but she did scan them in twos, and gave me 48 kind of scans. So fair enough, you know, you can chop those up or not, as depending on if you intended them to be in twos or not. So yeah, have a look around on eBay if you fancy one. I think they're a great little camera.